Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and being a producer of Wrestle Massacre as well as Inside Movies Galore, I am David Streggy, and welcome to Delusions of Grandeur. Enjoy the reviews. I certainly did.
Okay, Dave, that's it. Screw you and your college flunkies. I've had enough of this from you and from everyone else. I know what you guys are trying to do. Break me down, drive me out of the force. Well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than a lame prank like this to get Curtis Mooney to throw in his badge, so fuck you. Over.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Streggy, and here I have another collection video to start for you, where some of these are older, some of these are newer, some of these are just ones that I just recently unearthed from my collection, and I had yet to review some of them, but I figured I'd show them to you. I ended up picking up the new Dumbo, and that surprisingly is directed by Tim Burton. I know that it was a Disney film. I normally do not pick up Disney films because they are uber expensive, and I just don't really respect the company ever since Walt died. So, the film stars Colin Farrell, Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Eva Green, Alan Arkin, and so on and so forth. And it is based on the original Disney cartoon, which I also picked up at the same time. So I ended up picking up both copies. This one is the 70th anniversary edition. I picked them both up brand new. And I picked these up both from Walmart at the same time. Both of them are Blu-ray DVD combos. And, the animation version involves that mouse that's in there, and he's often trying to guide him. I think a lot of the animation is confused with racism, especially since the crows in there are actually led by a leader, apparently, that his name is Jack Crow, and evidently that was a racial term or whatnot. And at the time, I think that people just had way too much time on their hands to when they go through and watch these films. They get all huffed and puffed and act like they're the English that love to snub their nose up at things and be like, "Oh, we never do that," Would you like some tea? I mean, come on, folks. It's a cute animation. Don't read too much into it. Have an open mind and just enjoy the characters. Don't take offense. It's just a movie. It's just like the The reason why people don't like what is that movie? The one based on um, well, anyways, I like the film because it's the first time you ever get to see the train that goes up the hill and says, "I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I thought I could, I thought I could." Well, that was also a children's book when I was a kid, so fancy that. But there are two favorite scenes from either film, and each one does it a little differently. The first in the cartoon, in the cartoon, mind you, the rat and the mouse, the mouse and Dumbo, um, actually get drunk, and while they are drunk, they see these pink elephants, and that's when the um, song "Pink Elephants on Parade" is sung. Now, each one did it a little differently, um, but I actually think that the Dumbo in the newer one makes a whole heck of a lot more noises than he did in the original. But I like both of them. For some odd reason, I like both of them. I know that the Dumbo here actually got a lot of criticism, the new one, and for some reason, I just love the animation involved behind the CGI Dumbo. I mean, it was amazing, um, and it was cool that that Tim Burton could actually bring about the characters that uh, played in Batman and use them as totally different characters. So, yeah. Um, next, now I'm sure that this had a box at one point in time, but this movie is actually called Freaked, and this stars one of the guys from Bill and Ted. It's Bogus Journey, and he also starred in The Lost Boys as that curly-haired blonde kid or whatnot. And it was a unique film, and there was a lot of money put into this, and it was shelved for years. Learning about that I actually watched the behind the scenes on that the creatures in here were were trauma-esque, and they had puppetry. And for some reason, there was a little kid in there that kind of reminded of me of Chucky on Rugrats, um, which they called a little troll. So, in any case, so the next film that I'd like to talk about is a film that was very odd, very strange, and I'm not sure whether I entirely liked it. I know a lot of people that are filmmakers or whatnot love this film, and they actually love the new film by this director. I believe his name is Ari Aster, and Midsommar is his newest. Heredity. I actually thought that Toni Collette looked like shit in here as an actress. I mean, I love her as an actress, but the makeup they did on her was not really the greatest, and she looked old. I'm sorry to say that. I mean, but the story was like a half of a thought, and that's maybe why I haven't exactly gotten it entirely. I know that it got a lot of raving and it got a lot of love, but I did pick it up and I did watch it. So, Beyond the Black Rainbow. Now, this one I would have to put it in the same category as Hereditary, as being more artistic and slow, slow in pacing. But I loved the 80s synth um, in here. And this film is directed by Panos Cosmatos. And he also, recently, not too long ago, did a movie called Mandy, which a lot of people loved. And that one starred Nicolas Cage, and that one had similar pacing. Here we go. Held captive in a specifically medical facility, a young woman with unique abilities seeks a chance to escape her obsessed captor. Well, you know what? That kind of sounds like Ex Machina, doesn't it? Well, it is what it is. Set in the strange and oppressive emotional landscape of the year 1983, Beyond the Black Rainbow is a Reagan-era fever dream inspired by hazy child memories of midnight movies and Saturday morning cartoons. From the producer of Mako Tail Drop, Rainbow is the outlandish feature film debut of writer and director Panos Cosmatos, featuring a hypnotic analog synthesizer score by Jeremy Schmidt of Sinoa Caves and Black Mountain. Rainbow is a film experience for the senses, and this was put out by Magnolia Home Entertainment. So I actually kind of recommend this film for those of you who enjoy films in that kind of um, a following. Now, this is an animated feature. It's got 5 tales, I believe, and it has Sir Christopher Lee's voice, Bela Lugosi's voice, Julian Sands, Roger Corman, and Guillermo del Toro is involved in this particular animation. It is based on the horror masterworks of Edgar Allan Poe, and it is called Extraordinary Tales. And I actually saw this at the Milwaukee Film Festival several years ago, and it was put out by Cinedigm. So let me read the back here. 5 of Edgar Allan Poe's best-known stories are brought to vivid life in this heart-pounding animated anthology featuring Sir Christopher Lee, Bela Lugosi, Julian Sands, Roger Corman, and Guillermo del Toro. Murderous madmen, sinister villains, and cloaked ghouls stalk the darkened corridors of Poe's imagination as his haunting tales are given a terrifying new twist by some of the most beloved figures in horror film history. Put out with Melusine Productions, Melon Digital, R&R Communications Inc., and The Big Farm with the support of Film Fund in Luxembourg. This is a film that was directed by Raul Garcia. So there you go. There you have it. Extraordinary Tales, back and front. If you can see the back, it was very cool. At least for me. I'll have to visit it again soon. This one I've had for quite some time, but it is my absolute favorite film that has Patrick Stewart in it, and I'll tell you why. Because it's got this amazing, older, sophisticated security system that evidently Patrick Stewart used to be part of the Department of Intelligence. So, for former Department of Intelligence agent Mace Sowell, his house is his fortress. High-tech security systems guard the property's perimeter, ready to detect unwanted intruders. Loaded firearms are stashed away in every room. His family thinks he's crazy. For Mace, it keeps him alive. For years, Mace has been the keeper of a dark secret, one that could destroy the life of a certain up-and-coming presidential candidate. It's a secret that has already killed many, and Mace's name is next on the list. Patrick Stewart from Star Trek Insurrection and Kimberly Williams from Father of the Bride star in an action-packed espionage thriller where the worst enemy of all is time. So this was put out by Showtime and FilmQuest Pictures, and it was directed by let's see. It was directed by supposedly Eric Steven Stahl, but Joy Kilpatrick, Craig Schumacher, and Hector Elizondo also stars in this film. But I absolutely love Patrick Stewart as an actor, anyways. He is always so regal and so formal, and the fact that he plays a character that is beginning to have early Alzheimer's, and yet while he's still keeping a secret, that was just heartbreaking. When it turns out that the person who was supposedly trying to help him get healthier was actually the person that ended up trying to kill him. So I ended up being sucked into watching an animated film, which I actually enjoyed, which was directed by Hayao Miyazaki, and it was called Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro, and it's the second film, supposedly, in the Lupin film collection. This is the first movie. I went back and watched this particular film. It's called Lupin III, The Secret of Mamo, and this is directed by, well, let's see. Soji Yoshikawa. So it's got two different directors on on each, and I love both of them. I mean, the evil guy kind of reminds me of Crane, the brain bad guy in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the castle in Cagliostro is just phenomenal. I mean, the storyline, and the Abraham Lincoln looking dude. You got to admit that some of the animation in these particular films are pretty classic for the 1980s. So there you have it. Those two particular films. I would definitely recommend them for those of you who enjoy animations. So this one I've had for quite some time, but I had to rewatch it. And I love all the films that you can find in full screen, and this is the special edition of Entrapment. The beautiful Catherine Zeta-Jones, who played in Traffic, and Sean Connery, who played in Finding Forrester. Star in here as two illustrious thieves, and she goes under the guise that she needs to be trained in being the best thief to pull off this heist for some money, and she is supposed to double cross him at one point, but she ends up really liking his character. So on the back here, The film is directed by John Amiel. Um, he worked with 20th Century Fox and Regency Enterprises, along with Fountain Bridge Films, and a producer by the name of Michael Hertzberg. So, yeah, when a priceless Rembrandt is stolen in New York, the evidence points to a solitary master thief, played by Connery, who is about to meet the insurance company's most cunning and seductive investigator. Um, Following a nerve-wracking game of cat and mouse, the two join forces, or so it seems, to attempt a daring multi-billionaire dollar heist tied to the dawn of the new millennium. So, I really enjoyed this film. I actually saw this in the theater. I used to have a mentor by the name of Brian Flynn, and he used to take me to a lot of films, and they were all different. And some of them were films that I wanted to see, but there were a lot of them that he wanted to see. He took me to films that I would probably never see on a regular given basis, but I saw this one. And I wanted to see this one, and it was good. So, that being said, this is another film that I would have to say that is in the vein of Hereditary and Beyond the Black Rainbow, films of that nature. It's called Arrival. It was a science fiction film, and it starred Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, Forrest Whitaker. Critics are calling Arrival the best film of the year. When mysterious spacecraft touch down across the globe, an elite team led by expert translator Louis Banks, Academy Award nominee Amy Adams, races against time to decipher their intent. As tensions mount between fearful governments, Banks discovers the aliens' true purpose and, to avert global war, takes a chance that could threaten her life and quite possibly humanity. Oscar nominee Jeremy Renner and Academy Award winner Forrest Whitaker co-star in the stunning, stellar masterpiece with a mind-blowing ending that you will want to see again and again. The film is definitely it was definitely slow. Did I like it? I liked the creatures. I liked the premise that there was kind of a surprise ending, but there were really no surprises for me in this film. I know that this was praised by a lot of people. I mean, even Newsweek said Arrival is big, grand, and marvelous. I mean, those are hard torches to not carry. But I'm not always going to enjoy theatrical films. And I enjoyed the performances. Thing is, this if you know what I mean about the fact that it had a girl on the train kind of feel for it. The film was directed by Denis Villeneuve. And it was filmed in 2016. So, I believe I picked this up on one of the Black Friday days at Walmart. Several years ago now. Yeah, they ended up having it in their Black Friday sales. They often have like these special edition copy or special sales where they'll sell all kinds of films, and I love going to the Black Friday sales. This one I would put in the vein of Hereditary as well. A Quiet Place had something to do with a family that had a child that could not hear, and it also had something to do with monsters who heard you could not make a sound um, if you wanted to live. So the film was directed by let's see, it was directed by John Krasinski. Yeah, John Krasinski, and the film starred Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, the director. In fact, um, but it had kind of a surprise ending. It was interesting. I liked that the fact that the monster was unique. The premise was uh, interesting. The only thing, it was very, 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 very slow, at least for me. So there we go. So the next film, I actually picked up the documentary um, based on Dan Curtis, the man behind Dark Shadows. Now, if you know anything about me, I absolutely love Shadows. In fact, I own the entire series. I don't own that coffin collection, but I would love to own it eventually. Um, what I love about this documentary, it is called Master of Dark Shadows: The Gothic World of Dan Curtis. Um, there's the cover. Um, what I like about this is it shows exactly some of the things that he did after Dark Shadows, which he was one of the producers behind Herman Wouk's um, miniseries, The Winds of War and War and Remembrance, and those are very out of print miniseries, and my dad absolutely loved those series of very much. I know that they are very long when they're on TV and whatnot, and I like that this kind of had some of the people that you don't normally get to see talking about him. I believe Caroline actually shows up in here and talks about Dan Curtis just a little bit. I wish that David, the actor who played David, would have showed up on here to talk or something like that. I was a little bit disappointed that way, but in any case, moving on to another film that I would have to say that is very much in the style of Beyond the Black Rainbow and um, Arrival and what was the other one that I just recently did? A Quiet Place. Um, Something weird about this. This was from the director of Ex Machina, and it was called Annihilation, and Natalie Portman stars in it. Um, so it was based.
Right over there where that fat kid is standing. Hey, don't call me fat, butt bugger. Yeah, Cartman, do it. Damn shit! Respect my fucking authority! Yay! You need to watch your mouth, Brad. Dog shit taco! Quick, Satan, do something. Try this on for size. Blood-drenched frozen tampon popsicle! Hi, buddy. I know I was mean before, but don't worry. I can change.
Oh.
Okay. shit, cock, ass, titties, boner, bitch, muff, pussy, cock, butthole, Barbara Streisand! What are you waiting for, bitch? Destroy him! Come on, you weak, stupid cumbucket, save me!
That's it! I have had enough of you!
And now, time for TV's favorite game show, Beat the Time.
Like I said, it was based on a science fiction novel. And except for the crocodile part and the part where I was where the monster, the creature, was making a noise, and a couple of the girls were tied to chairs. You could hear it coming down the hallway. I love that part about the creature. But other than that, except for the confusion at the end, there it was a pretty film. It was pretty. But whether I actually liked it is a totally different story. I still have to think on that. So that was Alex Garland who directed that particular film. And I don't know whether he did the novel justice, but I know that I would like to see more from the world if he's going to make more films delving with that world. I would love to see him continue the series. If he's going to start the series, he might as well finish it. The next film to talk about, I saw that this actually was from the producers of Arrival and Strange Things. It's called Kin. And it's basically a brother, an older brother, has not been part of his adoptive family's, or actually, he's actually the real son, but he's in some kind of money trouble, and he ends up having to take care of his younger adopted son's son. When the kid finds this cool kick-ass gun in an abandoned building, and he finds out that he can actually access its features. And I think for some reason I seem to love James Franco as the bad guy in here. He's kind of a creepy, chaotic kind of a dude. So I get a kick out of seeing James Franco in everything for some reason. It's like he's a desperate actor. But in any case, I enjoyed this film. I think the kid was fresh. I think his brother did a decent job of acting and whatnot, and I'd love to see more from this kid, more from this story. Once again, I'm glad that I picked up the Blu-ray DVD combo pack so that I can watch it on Blu-ray and DVD. Now, this was a product of the 90s. This next one. Well, actually, let me see. This was directed by Jonathan and Josh Baker, and the characters in here were Jack Rayner, Zoe Kravitz, Carrie Coon, and Dennis Quaid, as well as James Franco. So I would definitely recommend that film for those who have not seen it. I wouldn't say it was a great film, but I thought it was a decent film. So this was a product of the 90s. Definitely, it had it stars Robert Patrick in here, and I didn't really know that many action films that he was actually part of, other than Terminator 2. But if you notice, one of the characters in there, he was in Predator 2, I believe. Or that was a crazy dude. And this one's called Zero Tolerance. Sometimes you need to take matters into your own hands. No forgiveness, no mercy. FBI agent Jeff Douglas wages a deadly one-man war in this action-packed battle of ultimate revenge. When the White Hand, a drug cartel led by 5 powerful crime lords, take his family, Douglas vows to even the score, no matter the cost. The film is directed by Joseph Murphy, and it was put out by PM Entertainment Group. It was a Richard Pepin and Joseph Murphy produced film, and it was a Universal property. Well, it was also a subject, kind of a product of the 90s, because in those days they had action films where it seemed like the bad guys always missed and the good guys always killed. If you get my drift, where they just had endless bullets, and it would always be impossible. So, but there you have it. I enjoyed it for what it was, but when you watch a lot of the 90s films, especially some of the early 90 or late 90, or definitely 90s, early 90s probably, you see a lot of that happen, where the good guys definitely overlay the bad. I would like to see in a film, if it was an action film, that casualties would be bad on both sides, so that it didn't always seem like he was a MacGyver. Now, this film was reminded me more or less like it was like a dream. But I liked it. It was different. I mean, there was a different kind of a small robot in there, but this is a superhero film called Max Steel, and I'm trying to remember whether it was based on a comic book or whether it was based on that animated film from the 90s. Yeah. An epic superhero adventure. 16-year-old Max McGrath is just trying to fit into his new school when he discovers that his body can generate a mysterious energy. When he meets Steel, a rebellious techno-organic alien who has been secretly watching him, these two unlikely friends find themselves hunted and must band together to form the superhero Max Steel, to stop the sinister forces who want to control Max's power in the adventure of galactic proportions. It was directed by Stuart Hendler, and it was produced by Open Road Films and Dolphin Films, and was an association with Mattel, and also with Dangerous Media Services Limited. My problem is that it seemed edited weird for some reason. I don't know what it is about this film, but there's something off. I liked it, but there was just something off about the cut. In any case, moving on to Tokyo Gore Police. This is the double disc special edition. When I found this evidently has some extra short films that follow it up, and it extends the Tokyo Gore Police experience Blood and guts are the ultimate weapon in the near future, and the Tokyo Police Corporation is locked in a bloody war with the engineers. These genetically modified supercriminals can biofuse their open wounds with weapons, turning self-mutilation into a combat form. Ruka, the daughter of the police chief's murdered right-hand man, is now the top engineer hunter. With cold-blooded efficiency, she cuts through the psychotic engineers and tracks down their home base, a truly bizarre fetish club. Nothing keeps her from her sworn duty, even when she finds out the truth behind her father's death. Starring Elhi Shina of Takashi Mike's Audition, from the producers of Machine Girl, Death Trance, and Flesh for the Beast. Fever Dreams presents a Nikatsu production, and the film stars Itsuji Itad, Yukihide Benny, Gigi Boo, Kaisuke Horib, and the film is directed by Yoshiro Kishimura, I believe. So, I thought this film was definitely Lovecraftian weird, and I liked it, even though her voice was kind of high pitched and whatnot in here when it was dubbed. So I love that edition. I'm not going to ever get rid of that edition, and yeah. So The Nut Job and The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, 2-movie collection. This was a Walmart pickup, and let's see, Shirley, played by Will Arnett, is a mischievous squirrel with a mission to find the tastiest nuts for winter. When he discovers a whole store filled with his favorite food, he plans a heist of nutrageous proportions. But the place turns out to be owned by ruthless bank robbers, so it's up to Surly and his furry friends to stop the nearby bank heist and save the town. And there are some bonus feature things and some animated shorts that go along with this. And then, of course, there's The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature. Surly Squirrel, played by Will Arnett and the gang, are back, returning to Liberty Park after they are forced to leave their easy life at the nut store. Getting back to nature is the last thing Surly wants to do. But when a greedy mayor decides to destroy the park to build the amusement park, Surly and his ragtag critter friends must band together to save the place they call home. So the first film is directed by Peter Lepeniotis, and the second film is directed by Cal Brinker. So 2 different directions, you could definitely tell. And definitely some interesting characters in here, like dogs and whatnot. I loved that there was a superhero kind of a squirrel and a family of squirrels that was run by some squirrels that did not appreciate the other squirrels. I enjoyed both films. Although I enjoyed the first one better, I think. The second one was kind of nutty. But yeah, I took a chance, and I guess I went nuts. So I wasn't sure what to think of this next film. Only because I feel like Disney is stepping on territory that should have been left alone. like when I first heard that they were making this Mary Poppins Returns, which Mary Poppins Returns is directed by Rob Marshall, and the story stars Robin Blunt, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Ben Whishaw, Emily Mortimer, Julie Walters, and Colin Firth, as well as Meryl Streep. So, when I first heard that this was being made, I trashed it because I wasn't as open-minded as I probably should have been. And though this won't be the classic that Mary Poppins is, I gave it a chance. The thing is, it used animation in the original, and this one's like mostly CGI bullshit. But on a side note, I saw how Dick Van Dyke went onto the set and saw how original they made the set look to the original film. And he said that they were spot on, and he kept remembering lines as he walked down this made set. So I watched the bonus features first just to see what was said, and then I watched the film, and then I liked the soundtrack, so I went and bought the soundtrack. And I have to agree with the 4 Academy Award nominations for this film. It's not that the film is as great as Mary Poppins, but I feel like they got it. I feel like they got the feel of it, and now I'm wishing that Emily Blunt would return in another film with involving the children. I would love to see that happen again, because I think she imitated Miss Poppins to somewhat of a T. So there was definitely something there. And I think I was relatively more surprised at liking it more than I thought I was. So, if that makes any sense. The World of Mary Travers. Something unthought of. Anyways, the next film was directed by William Cameron Menzies. It was put out with Allied artists, but this is a Blu-ray copy with Kino Lorber of The Maze. Now, previously I had a copy of this film, and I was told about this film being scary to one of the people in my group, and I love the labyrinth in here. This movie is called The Maze, and The Maze is a 1953 anamorphic horror film in 3D, directed by William Cameron Menzies, who directed Invaders from Mars, Things to Come, and starring Richard Carlson, who played in The Magnetic Monster, as Scotsman Gerald McTeam, played by Carlson, who abruptly breaks off his engagement to Pretty Kitty Murray, played by Veronica Hurst, after receiving word of his uncle's death and inheriting a mysterious castle in the Scottish Highlands. Kitty refuses to accept the broken engagement and travels with her aunt, played by Catherine Emery, who in fact narrates the story, to the castle. When they arrive, they discover that Gerald has suddenly aged and his manner has changed significantly. After a series of mysterious events occur in both the castle and the hedge maze outside, they invite a group of friends, including a doctor, to the castle, hoping they can help Gerald with whatever ails him. Menzies was known for his very dimensional style, focusing many shots in layers. The Maze was his final film as production designer and director. The film is digitally restored from the original left and right eye camera negatives by Paramount Pictures Archive in association with the Film Foundation, with a special thanks to Martin Scorsese. Scanned in 4K at ProTech with 3D alignment processes and restored by 3D Film Archive. So, I really enjoyed rewatching this film. I love the creature. I mean, I would like to see what a present day filmmaker would do if they remade this film. Even though I know that a lot of people aren't really into remakes, I would like to see what a modern day horror filmmaker, how they would take the film and what level of filmmaking would be involved in doing so. So, in any case, hopefully you enjoyed my description of these films. Sometimes I'll review them on the spot. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, and morning, wherever you are. You never know what I'll come up with in my collection. So thank you so much for allowing me to share it with you. Adieu.
You were good, kid, real good. But as long as I'm around, you'll always be second best, see?